Hello sweet friends and welcome to the Rebookery channel. I'm Gina and today I am going to take this book. It's a cookbook called Friends and Their Food, and I'm going to turn it into a junk planner very similar to this one. So before we get started, I want to show you guys, we talked about the last time I did a video why this book was going to be such a good choice. And because we're doing an altered book, that means we're going to keep the book intact. We're just going to remove probably 2/3 of the pages, but we're going to keep the spine intact. We're going to keep some of the pages intact, but definitely the signatures. So this book is going to work well because it's sewn in signatures, and we'll be able to remove the pages while keeping the threads for the signatures. This is a book that is really cute, and I liked it. I wanted to use it, but here's why this one will not work. Because this one is not sewn in, these are glued. And I can tell that when I look at the spine right here, I can see that there aren't any. You'll be able to see where there are signatures, pages that have been folded and sewn in, and I can't find any of those here. Whereas on this one, I can find them. See all the little ridges or the bumps? Let me see if I can get a little closer here. That's evidence that there are signatures that have been sewn in. So if I open this one up, okay, I'm not gonna find threads that have sewn this together. What I'm going to find is that these pages have been glued in, and as I work in this book, I'm going to pull on that glue, and I'm not going to be able to keep my book as intact as I would if my signatures were sewn in. So it's totally up to you. There are people that do altered books when the pages have been glued in. I am not one of those people. I learned how to make altered books this way, the way I'm going to show you, so I am not going to use this. But I will use these pages. And what I could do with this book is I could just cut out this whole text block right here and use the cover for another journal. Actually, it's a project that I've got going on, and yeah, we'll talk more about that later. Okay, so let's get into this book, and let me show you how I start when I do an altered book. And it's been a while since I've made one because I started this one back in January, and so it's May. No, what is it? Oh, it's June. It's June, so it's been a while. So you got to give me just a second to find my bearings. So let's see. The first thing I want to do is I want to find out how many signatures there are. So it looks like there's one. I'm just going to count those ridges. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Looks like 13 signatures. And now what I want to do is I want to count how many pages per signature. So I'm not going to start with the first one because the first one isn't going to give me the most accurate count just because there's the end paper. What I'm going to do is just find a signature here. And I like to start from the center. So let me turn my pages until, okay, so here's the center of my signature. And I know this is, and I got some funky shadows going on here, guys, sorry. I know this is the center of my signature because I can see the threads. Now, if the book is really, really tightly bound, you may have to dig in there to find your threads, but I can find my threads, so I know this is the center of the signature. Blah. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to count how many pages are in a signature. So just go with me and I'll explain my reasoning here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay, so what I did, excuse me, is I counted from the center of one signature to the center of the next signature. And there are 16 pages, which means if I divide that by 2, there are 8 pages per signature, because 8 of them went with this one and 8 of them went with this one. So 8 pages per signature. Now, don't let this freak you out, but we're going to remove probably about 2/3 to 3/4 of the pages, but we'll do this in stages because we want to do it until the book feels right. Okay, so 8. All right, so I'm just going to start with this signature right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this page, okay, but leaving my threads intact. So I just removed a page. Okay, so I'm going to remove another one. Okay, I'm going to go one more. Okay, and we'll do another one. All right, so I just removed 4 pages, and when I close this, you're going to see that there's a little bit of some space here. That's because I've removed some of the pages. Okay, so I did 4. Let's go, I'm going to go to the next signature because I already knew where, or I thought I knew. There we go. There's the next signature. I'm going to remove 4 here. Now, sometimes people will, depending on how your book is put together, but I've seen where people will just pull them out like this. Yes, it's a faster way to do it, but I don't want to rip my threads because that's what's holding my pages together. And if I rip my threads, then my signatures aren't going to be intact. And if you do rip your threads, that's not a big deal. We can actually go back over it with glue. Several of my altered books were so old that the threads did rip, and I just went back over it with glue. Okay, 1, 2, let's see here. All right, let me count. I want to see, because I'm talking and ripping at the same time, and that's not very smart for me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, cool. All right, now I'm going to flip to the back. I'm going to find a signature back here. And there we go. There's one. And I'm going to remove the same way. There's one. And I'm not on the very last signature. I think I'm 2 signatures in. 2, 3, and 4. Now, if you get little papers and stuff like this, and they kind of bother me, you can kind of go over them with a brush and see if you can brush them out. Sometimes I'll take a craft knife and just use the tip to kind of pull these out, especially when you get into the center because it gets really, really tight. Okay, so let's find another signature. As you get to know your book a little bit more, and as you do this a few times, you'll start to figure out how books are put together, and this process will be much easier. Okay, number 2, 3, and 4. And you'll be able to kind of gauge where the centers of the signatures are. When I first started, it was tough to just figure out how books were put together. Like there was a lot I needed to learn about how books were sewn together and So it took me a while and a few trial and errors. One of the biggest things that I've learned, I cannot find the middle of this signature. One of the biggest things that I've learned is you have to remove more pages than you think. I have been like, oh, I think this is going to be plenty of pages to remove. And then halfway into my journaling, you know, my book is already full, or the spine starts to split. That's why I think I loved this one so much, was because I removed more pages than I thought I needed. And I think I removed 3/4 of the pages. I was ruthless and just kept removing them. Okay. Now, one of the cool things is as you start to remove, when you close your book, you can see where you've been. So you can see the evidence of where I've been. You can see where I've pulled the pages out. And so then that's kind of your guide. And now I'm just going to open. I'm going to find the center. And I think I'll just fast forward this as I rip out the rest of these pages. And I think what I'll do is I'll hold off on the very end signatures and we'll do those together. I have removed 4 pages from each of the signatures, and you can see how there's gaps, okay? But what I haven't done is the last 2 signatures, and that's because there's always like a different count on the last 2, just because there's the end paper. And so I just kind of want to look to see what I have signature or page-wise before I start ripping. Okay, so here's the end paper, and then it's glued to the first page of the signature. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it's going to be 9 because there's this end paper, if that makes any sense. Now there would still be 8 between this one and this one, except that I ripped some out of that other one. So I'm going to still go 4. And I'm doing 1 page at a time. I don't recommend doing more than 1 page at a time, just because I did that before and I regretted it because then I ripped out my threads. So I do 1 page at a time and just kind of take it nice and slow. Okay, now I'm going to go to the back and it should be the same thing. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. Okay, so now let's look and see what I got. Okay, so check out what I have. See how the spine is wide, much wider than the end of the book? It's awesome. And the old Gina would have stopped right here. So let me show you a couple other of my altered books. So this is one where I had a pretty skinny spine on this one. And I didn't pull out enough pages. Now, this book was really, really small. There were not a lot of pages in this book, but I could have and should have gone a few extra pages, but that's okay. And I love this journal. I love, love, love this journal, and every page is filled. Here's another one. Again, a really skinny spine. And this one, I did rip out quite a bit on this one. And if you look, you can see, actually, I think I did go and rip out more than I thought I needed. And it actually worked out really well. This was an interesting book. I loved this one. This was the one I had last summer. And then this was the one I had, oh my gosh, 2018. Yep, 2018. This one was my very first junk planner. And I look at this today and I'm just like, I'm in awe. I loved this book. 10 cents. That's how much I paid for this book. God, I love this book. And this was the very first one I did. And what a great one to start with, because the book was so easy to work with. And I didn't make a lot of mistakes on this one. Yeah, I don't know. I loved it. And I put so many inserts and stuff in this one. I love, love, love this one. So you can see, but this was a much bigger spine. Okay, now let me show you one I did make some mistakes on. This one, and the cover, I loved it, but I did not tear out enough pages. And the reason why I didn't tear out enough pages is because I loved the pages so much in this cookbook. Oh, does my grandma. I love that picture. I didn't want to tear out the pages because they were gorgeous. And look, I didn't even finish it. Like, this was a page from the book. And so I just, yeah, oh man, I didn't finish that at all. I abandoned it because the spine fell apart, so the whole spine came off because there was just too much stress on it. So that, I love this one, but that was one of those times where, yeah, I should have gone, oh, more pictures of my grandma. Good grief. Oh, and there's my grandpa. Yeah, okay, so, like, I guess I tucked some stuff in here. Okay, yeah, that's awesome. You never know what you're going to find. Maybe I should go through my journals a little more often. Huh, interesting. Okay, what is this? Oh my. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Good stuff. Oh, this is cool. Okay, I need to just go through my journals a little more often, see what I got in here. Okay, here we go. All right, so there we go. That one was a mess up. Here's what I'm going to do. I ripped out half. I think what I'm going to do is let's go one more page out of every signature. So now what I have is, so let's go to a signature. And okay, so here we go. Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now we have divided by 2, we have 3 pages per signature. Okay, so what my next step is going to be is to glue. So I want to see how this is going to work if I were to glue. So when I glue, I'm going to start at my signature, and I'm going to glue this one to this one. So this is a page, no glue. This will be a page. This will be a page. So then what will happen is these guys will get glued and they will become thick. 1, 2. So what I'll really have is like, take 3 divided by 2 is like a page and a half, but you get what I'm saying. There's going to be a page in each signature and then 1 page that essentially they share, if that makes any sense. I'm not a math teacher, so in my head it makes sense. If it's not making sense, you'll understand when I go to glue it. So now what I got to do is I got to decide, do I stop here or do I continue on? Oh, I just don't know. Let's see. Let's go back to this one and let's count how many pages I actually have in the book, not inserts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. And if I remember correctly, there was one, and I think it was this one right here, where I actually glued 3 pages together because the way I tore the pages out, I had 1 extra, if that makes any sense. So this one has 3 pages that are glued to it. So there's 26 pages. That does not count inserts. So now let me go and see what this would be.
If I did 26, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40.
Okay, so here's where we're gonna have, so there's 40, but then there's also this right here, this end signature. So this end signature, something is off about this end signature. It's not going to be the same as all the rest of them. It's not even the same as the front signature. So when you glue, you do not want to glue. So here's where our threads are. I don't want to glue this together, okay? Because now there's no integrity here. We're going to think like an engineer. I need this to distribute its sturdiness or whatever within the pages. So every time I glue, I'm going to go to the center of a signature and I'm going to glue this page to this page, because now this is connected to this. If I didn't, what happens is this page is not connected to anything and I could just rip the whole thing out. And then it's like, it's to me, this would drive me nuts, because I want my whole book to just meld into one. So I'm going to always want to glue the pages that the center of the signature falls. I'm going to glue one page to the next page and one page to the next page. I have glued these together in journals previous and didn't much like the results. I did have in some of my shabbier ones that I've made, this does rip out because there's nothing to connect it to the book. But you, again, this is, you do what you need to do. Okay, so I'm going to end up with way more pages in this one than this one. And I just need to decide if that's okay. So what I'm going to try to do here is to figure out, were these the same size to begin with? And I really wished I'd have paid attention. I don't think they were. I feel like this one is a 1/4 inch. The spine was a 1/4 inch smaller than this. So would a 1/4 inch account for the extra 20, almost 20 pages? I'm really trying to decide, do I want to go through and rip another page out? That's what I'm really trying to decide. I can't decide if I want to. All right, I'm doing it. I'm gonna go rip again. I gotta follow that rule. I always rip more than you think. Okay, so here we go. I'll use some clips here. Okay, so this will be glued. This will be glued. Okay, so what's going to happen is I'm going to have this extra, I'm going to have this that I don't want. I don't like this. And so this is going to have to be, I'm going to have to either glue 3 together or I'm going to have to remove something. So let's see. This end paper could honestly stand on its own because it's thick enough, which means that could go together, but I don't want to glue these two together. So let's take it out. Okay. All right, so then this becomes a page, and then this end paper can stand on its own because it's thick enough. Okay, so there we go. There's those. Now let's make sure it's going to work this way. So this is going to be glued together. Okay. And then this is going to be glued together. Yay! And then that'll be glued together. Okay, so then we should be good. Now it may get a little funky over here at the end, but that's okay because it's the end and we can kind of make it work like we did over here. All right, I know this is kind of terrifying because I literally ripped out the majority of this book, but look at it. Look at it. That's yeah. This is what I want. This is gonna work, okay? I know it's a little scary, but it's going to be good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and kind of clean out the gutters a little bit. And I'm going to glue my pages together. Now, I'm going to use a glue stick because my pages are thick enough and they're like a matte finish. They're going to be able to hold the glue stick really well. I don't need wet glue. Now, I will say this. I have used wet glue before. I have even, this is going to sound really strange, but I've even used wet glue and then on a low iron, ironed my pages so that there were no wrinkles. If you don't want wrinkles, you don't have to iron your papers. Don't use wet glue, okay? Because that's going to give you, especially if your pages are really thin, that's going to give you a wrinkle. I don't mind wrinkles, and in some of my altered like composition notebooks, I actually embraced the wrinkles. But I have found that a glue stick works really well. And the way I glue is I'm going to start in the center somewhere, and I know, like we talked about, I'm going to, here's the center, so this gets glued to this right here. So let me get a glue stick. Let me get a big glue stick. Nothing fancy. I'm going to use good old Elmer's Extra Strength. So this is Elmer's Extra Strength Craft Bond. This is Elmer's All-Purpose. This is my absolute favorite glue stick. Elmer's All-Purpose, not the school glue. The school glue does not have the strength that the all-purpose does. So stick with the blue and the orange one. And then I think this is Yoo-Hoo. I love Yoo-Hoo glue sticks. I don't have any big ones right now, but yeah, these work really well. But for the money, these are my go-to. I think I'm going to use the big one though, just because it'll cover more. And so the way I glue, okay, again, here's our center. And I'm in the middle of my book. Oh my gosh, this is so lightweight. It kind of freaks me out a little bit because there's just this teeny tiny part of me that's like, did I tear out too much? But I know I didn't. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna run it down in this gutter here, go out to the edges. I'm actually gonna probably go through and sew my edges, so I don't need to worry about that too much. Give a nice little rub of glue. I go over it with my hands. This is probably a good time to have like an old gift card, or if you have a brayer, that's good too. Okay, so once I do one, I'll go back and I'll do this. And I'm just gonna go through and glue, and I may glue, you know, 7 pages today, and then I let it rest for a while, and then I'll pick it back up and I'll glue, you know, the next day or something. There may be an occasional wrinkle or a ripple. It's not a big deal. It's totally okay. Okay, so I'm just going to go through and I'm going to glue. And so the way I do this is I start in the center, I'll glue a few, then I'll flip to the front, I'll glue a few, and then I'm going to not mess with this very first signature, and I'm going to not mess with my very last signature. But I'm just going to kind of jump around and glue, you know, in different spots. Do a few in the center, do a few in the front, do a few towards the back. And here's why. Because when you do that, it distributes the way you're making your papers stick together. If you start at one end and work towards the other, sometimes your papers, your pages, when they glue, they kind of get skewed a little bit, and they'll kind of, I don't want to say turn, but they kind of will take the shape because you've been doing the same pressure, the same way, the same gluing all the way through. And then by the time you get to the end, it might look it looks a little off. I know I'm not explaining that very well, but you'll understand what I mean. I'm just going to distribute my gluing. And again, I know that the center of my signature, the way I've set my book up, the center of my signature, I'm going to glue each one of those pages to the page underneath it. So that gives me a good place to start. okay? And you just want to always make sure that you're not skipping any pages, or that you have accidentally have 2 pages stuck together. And if you do, no big deal. I can show you a way to fix those, because I have done those many times. And so just kind of always work from the center, and yep. All right, so get gluing, get tearing, and in the next video we will get our pages ready to do some journaling and set up some maybe calendar pages, whatever you want in your journal. I know I'm going to go ahead and put the calendar in, because that's kind of the whole point of my junk planner, is I have to have that calendar. I'm a time-driven person. And then I'm going to show you what I like doing to get my papers, my pages ready to go. Okay? All right, my friends, thanks for hanging out with me today. I hope my instructions didn't confuse you too much. If you found my video not helpful, just type in altered books, how to alter a book, and there are so many tutorials and so many fabulous artists that do it different ways, and you might find one that maybe is a little less confusing. And remember, guys, this is just paper, okay? It's just paper. They're just old books. The world's not going to blow up if you mess this up. The world will be totally fine. Every mistake we can fix. All right, my friends, if you haven't checked out my Ko-fi site, K-O-F-I, I would certainly appreciate you giving it a little visit. And if you enjoyed this video, I would love for you to give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, you are more than welcome to join us. We would love to have you. And for all of my OG friends, thanks for hanging out with me today. I hope everybody is healthy. I hope everybody is happy. And I hope everybody does something creative today. Bye.